How's it going, everybody? Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. If you participated in Black Friday shopping, I hope that was successful for you. Um, as I mentioned in my previous entry, there was a chance that we could talk some Central Washington University volleyball. That is now the case. I posted it up on Facebook and MySpace. Obviously, it's the first time posting it up on YouTube. But the Central Washington Wildcat volleyball team has made the field of 64 in volleyball, or 63 or 65, whatever. They made the tournament. Just to recap on the Cats, we're going to talk some Central volleyball for the next couple of entries. Got at least one game coming up, and we'll recap it as soon as possible. If they keep winning, we'll keep talking about them. So, here's a look at what the Great Northwest Athletic Conference standings look like in volleyball. You got the conference is a little bigger compared to football. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, by the way, you can check out my Facebook and MySpace accounts. Just Google Wildcat Lair James Puglisi, and you should find both websites. So here we go for the volleyball standings. We'll start from worst and go to first. It's a little bigger, as I said, compared to football. We got Simon Fraser with a 1-17 conference record and 4-22 overall in last. Up next, we got St. Martin's. They're behind Alaska Fairbanks, Montana State University Billings, and Northwest Nazarene finished tied with 8-10 conference records. Northwest Nazarene, however, edged MSUB in the tiebreakers by having a 15-14 overall record compared to MSUB's 11-15 overall record. Seattle Pacific is in fifth. They are tied with Alaska Anchorage for fourth. However, Alaska Anchorage has the tiebreaker with a 16-10 overall record compared to Seattle Pacific's 14-13. And then we got Central Washington and Western Oregon tied for second, and Central Washington and Western Oregon both 14-4 in conference play. The Western Washington Vikings won the conference with a 16-2 conference record and 23-3 overall record. So Western Washington got the automatic bid to go to the tournament. The Wildcats received an at-large bid, which we'll go over in just a few minutes. To recap the season for the volleyball team, Central was 2-2 against top 25 opponents. They took down number 25 UC San Diego on September 7th, 3-1, and then they took down Western Washington, who was ranked 13th at the time, on September 22nd, 3-1. The two matches they lost to against top 25 opponents were against number 23 Snohomish State on September 8th, 3-1. And then Western Washington got their revenge against Central. They had fallen in the rankings a little bit to number 15 on October 18th. They swept the Wildcats in 3 sets. The Wildcats were very consistent throughout the year. When they got ranked, that's actually when they stumbled a little bit. They were ranked as high as 21 and as low as 25 in the top 25 this year. And they were 5-3 as a ranked team. Half of their overall losses, which was 6, came when they were ranked, and 3 of their 4 conference losses came when they were ranked as well. So it was like they were able to win when they weren't ranked, and then when they had a little bit of pressure on them, that's when they cracked a little bit. But after falling out of the rankings and losing to Seattle Pacific on October 27th, the Wildcats ended the season on a 6-game winning streak, and they got the tiebreaker, in my opinion, against Western Oregon, because they were able to sweep the season series 2-0, which is probably the reason why they got the ranking compared to, unlike Western Oregon. Western Oregon was fighting for their playoff lives as well. They were ranked late in the season, but the Wildcats were able to edge them out. This is the 4th appearance in the playoffs in Central Washington's volleyball program's history. The Wildcats won the GNAC championship in 2004 and 2005. The 2004 year actually was really special. I was a freshman, and the volleyball team actually went undefeated and went pretty far in the tournament and was ranked number 1 in the country. They then repeated as GNAC champs in 2005, and then they received an at-large bid in 2006, and we'll talk a little bit about that playoff run coming up in just a second. Leaders for the Wildcats, senior outside hitter Marcy Jellin leads the Cats in kills, averaging 3.79 kills per set. Freshman setter Katie Fry leads the Wildcats in assists with 9.49 assists per set, and sophomore libero I want to say Kaylee Knight leads the Wildcats in digs with 5.08 per set. So very, very kind of fun to be back in the postseason. The first time in 2 years that a Central Washington University athletic program is going to the postseason. First time since the 2011 softball team, who made the West Regions and played in a double elimination tournament, was able to win 1 game in that tournament. This, of course, is a little different. It's not double elimination. It is sudden death. So looking at the final regional rankings, this is how they stood. Number 8, UC San Diego. Number 7 is San Francisco State. 6, Central Washington. They got the 6th ranking. Snohomish State is number 5. And number 4 is Western Washington with that automatic bid. Cal State San Bernardino, number 3. And Grand Canyon, number 2. BYU Hawaii is got the number 1 ranking in the region. So the way this tournament works for Division II, basically what you're ultimately trying to do is you're trying to get to the Elite 8. So basically you have the first round, which is the equivalent of the 64 teams, like, you know, if you want to compare it to Division I's March Madness tournament. You got 64 teams. Winners of that go to 32. After that, you go to 16. If you get that far, then you go to the Nationals instead of the regional tournament. So you're pretty much trying to get to the Elite 8. So you got to win 3 matches or 3 games, whichever you would like to prefer. The host team, I've talked about, it's set up similar to the basketball tournament in Division II. A couple years ago, Central was ranked number 1 in the region, so they were able to host the regional tournament, or that part of the bracket. So this time, the West Regionals will be in Laehi, I hope I said that correctly, Hawaii, the home of BYU Hawaii. So how would you like to be an athlete and clinch a postseason berth and get a trip to Hawaii out of that? I would definitely appreciate that. So the games are going to take place on Thursday, and then depending on, again, if the Wildcats win, they'll play on Friday, and then if they win that game, they'll play for the West Regional Championship, which will be, I believe, on Sunday. But don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works out. So this is how the brackets, the West Regional bracket matches up, or is set up. You got the number 1 BYU Hawaii taking on number 8 UC San Diego. The winner of that match will face the winner of the Western Washington Snohomish State match. That's the match between the 4th and 5th seed. Central Washington is on the other side of the bracket. They are the 6th seed. They'll play Cal State San Bernardino, the 3rd seed, and the winner of that match will play the winner of the 2nd seed Grand Canyon versus 7th seeded San Francisco State match later on in the week. So now let's talk a little bit about this game. Central, this will happen at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Thursday. I unfortunately will miss the game because I will have to work, but I will be following it, and I will recap the game as soon as I get home from work, provided I don't have anything come up. Hopefully that's the case. So this is at noon Hawaiian time, and again 2 p.m. Pacific time. CW seated now kind of these 2 teams, the Cal State San Bernardino Coyotes and the Central Washington Wildcats, actually have a little bit of postseason history with them. The last time the Wildcats got into the postseason, it was in 2006, as I mentioned before, when they got the at-large bid. They were the 8th seed, and they faced Cal State San Bernardino and ended up getting swept by the Coyotes 3-0. The Wildcats have played have never beaten the Coyotes. They have played each other 6 times, and the Wildcats have lost all of the previous 6. Last meeting between the 2 schools, came in Independence, Oregon during a non-conference tournament in 2010 with the Coyotes winning in straight sets. So the Wildcats are looking to break a little bit of history or break a trend with history. As we look at some volleyball stats, now for those of you who might be thinking, well, wait a minute, do you really know what you're talking about when it comes to volleyball? You don't really talk about too much. Well, volleyball just happened to be a sport that I just happened to learn. If you look at my fourth year at Central, or I should say my fifth year at Central, I was the beat writer for the school paper for the volleyball team. Ended up going there for an extra fall quarter. That quarter, I was the play-by-play announcer, so learned the terms there. The following year, when I was working in Chelan, Washington, I announced the 1A and 2B state championships in Yakima, Washington, for a radio station for Icicle Broadcasting. And these last 2 years, I've officiated volleyball matches for Seattle Parks and Rec. So I have a little bit of background, obviously still learning about the sport. So I do understand what these stats mean. So if we look at, we compare the two teams. Central Washington's attack percentage is 211. Their opponents average 168, and they average about 12.8, about just under 13 kills per set, compared to their opponents' 12. The San Bernardino, their attack percentage is 212, and their opponents' attack percentage averages to about 150. They also average just over 12 kills per set compared to their opponents, which is under 12, 11.7 to be exact. For Central Washington, you got for assists, we're looking at setting. We average just under 12 sets per match, 11.9 to be exact, compared to the opponent's 11.4. Cal State San Bernardino averages 11.4 assists per set, and and their opponent's average is just under 11 sets per set. 11 assists per set. Okay, anyway, for the neutral sites, so this is an interesting stats because the Central Washington Wildcats are 5-1 on neutral sites this year compared to Cal State San Bernardino's record of 3-3 on neutral sites. So the Wildcats have that edge, got a little bit more experience winning on neutral courts. We talked about Central's key players. Let's mention some of Cal State San Bernardino's players. They are led by a freshman in terms of kills. That's impressive. That's really impressive. The freshman outside hitter, Alexander Torline, leads the team with 2.95 kills per set. That's really impressive when you got a young player leading the team like that. Got to give kudos to the Coyotes there. Senior setter Camille Smith leads the team with 9.91 assists per set, and sophomore libero Ariel McCullough leads the team with 4.25 digs per set. Now, the keys to the Wildcats winning and being successful in this tournament. I know this is really basic, but win the first set. It's the best out of 5 to 25 points. Win by 2. Please win the first set. And I bring this up, and I know this is really basic because it's easier to win the first set and win a match compared to losing it. But when I was the beat writer for the school paper covering this team, the Wildcats got into a nasty habit of losing the first 2 sets of a match and then winning the next 2 to force the 5th and decisive match, which was to 15, in case you're interested. And I bring that up when you watch those games. You just watch how that takes a toll on players when you have to play more and you have to play more aggressively and pretty much play perfection in terms of trying to stretch the game out. So win the first set. And the other thing I'm going to say is the passing's got to be solid in this match against the Coyotes. And again, that's elementary. But if you want to quote head coach Mario Andaya from Central, he always harps on passing. When I interviewed him during halftime, that was one of the things that he usually harped on. He said, we got to pass better, and we got to get those attacks up so that way we can score more. So that's a little bit of a recap. That's a little bit of a preview, that is, for this game. I will recap the game on Thursday night as soon as possible. And go Cats. It's nice to be back in the postseason. And again, if they win, they will play the winner of, let me just get back up here one more time. They will play the winner of the number 2 seeded Grand Canyon versus number 7 San Francisco State match, and that will do it. So go Cats. We'll see you on Thursday. Thanks for watching, and again, check out my Facebook and MySpace accounts and Twitter. I'll put the links below, and let's go try to win some volleyball matches. Talk to you later. Bye bye.